Hi, I'm Sejal. Welcome to Yinspirations for your teaching and practice. To prop or not to prop in yin yoga? It's a great question. And the answer is it all depends. The work of the yin poses is safest and most beneficial when the sensations we feel are mild. Yin can sometimes feel uncomfortable, but it should never feel painful. So, in yin, we want to ensure that the sensations we feel are both mild and reasonable so that we're not feeling too much sensation or too little sensation, but just enough sensation. So, today we're going to talk about how we can use props to create possibilities to find and maintain mild sensation while working compassionately within the natural boundaries of our unique skeletal architecture. So, how can props be valuable companions on the mat? Well, there are a lot of ways. Props can, for example, help to make postures more accessible. So, we can use props such as blankets, bolsters, and or blocks to elevate our seat, to help to orient our pelvis into the correct position depending on what is needed for a particular pose. Or we might employ a strap to lengthen the arms to help us to reach a part of our body without straining. Props can also help us to nurture sensitive areas. So let's say you're kneeling on your mat in a pose like dragon pose and you feel painful compression in your knees. In this case, you might try using a folded blanket underneath the knee to remove the pressure, or you could use a block underneath the shin or a blanket to float the knee above the mat to help to remove that unnecessary strain. Props can also help us to benefit one area of the body while supporting another area of the body. So, for example, we might place in a seated posture blocks underneath the knees. This may give us access to the hamstrings while helping to avoid forcing the hip and the knee joints open. Or we could use the floor as a prop. So let's say that you or your students are experiencing a sensitivity of the knees, the low back, or even the neck or the shoulders. In this case, you could try swapping seated postures with supine postures. And having your back supported by the earth can help to take that unnecessary and unwanted pressure off those areas. So, props can also help us to go deeper into a pose to find mild sensation. Fish pose is a really great kind of example of how this works. So, let's explore these possibilities together. If you'd like to set up your posture for fish pose, place a single folded blanket at the middle of your mat and then place a sturdy bolster lengthwise on the side of that blanket. We're going to slope the bolster by placing your block the second height underneath the back edge of the bolster. So your block has three heights. The first height is the lowest, the second is the middle, and then the tallest height. Let's place it at that second height. And then take two other blocks if you have them and place them just close to the blanket where your seat will be. So, to come into this posture, sit onto the blanket facing away from the bolster. Bend your knees and place your feet so that they are towards they're at the outer edges of your mat. Place your hands beside you for support, and then very slowly begin to recline your upper body onto your bolster. Now, depending on how this feels for your low back, you can keep your knees bent to keep it softer on your lower back, or you could straighten your legs one at a time and rest your heels onto the mat. The blocks are there beside you. Try placing your forearms onto the blocks. Palms can face up or down so that your arms are supported. And so we're starting intentionally with this kind of gentlest expression of fish pose to help us to experience the different effects that the props can create in our bodies. So begin to scan your body and notice where you might be feeling sensations arising. Typically, we will feel sensations through the lower back, through the mid upper back, chest, and shoulder area. Notice what's true for you. To see if you can describe these sensations that you're feeling. Okay, now keep that in mind. Place your hands beside you, engage your core muscles, and gently, using your shoulder strength, press yourself upright. Now we're going to change the orientation of the props to continue with our experiment. So position your bolster so it's widthwise on your mat, no longer has a block underneath it, and place your block the second height on the other side of your bolster, which will serve as a pedestal for underneath your head. Now, keep in mind, this tends to be a deeper variation of the pose, so approach it slowly and mindfully. Sit onto your blanket, facing away from the bolster. Again, bend your knees and place your feet so that they're the outer edges of your mat. Place your hands beside you for support. Reach back, find the bolster. We want that bolster to end up landing right underneath the mid upper back area. So rest your forearms under the bolster as you lay back. And then reach behind you and grab that block. If the second height is too low, you can always place it to the taller height, which would be a little softer on the neck. Be sure that when you place the block under the head, it's not underneath the neck, but just underneath the head. Okay, depending on your shoulders and arms, you might let your arms just rest out to the sides. If that feels too intense, you could place your hands on your body. To keep it softer on the low back, keep your knees bent to accentuate the sensations in the lower spine. Straighten your legs, rest your heels onto the mat. So take a moment to explore where you'd like your arms to be, how you'd like your legs to be, what feels best for you. And then observe your body. Scan once again through your body and observe how it feels in this shape with the props repositioned. And this tends to emphasize the opening through the lower back, through the chest, shoulder, and mid upper back tissues. Notice how it feels for you. See if you can describe the sensations you're feeling. This too is valuable, building our vocabulary around sensations. Sensations, which are the language of the body, always communicating with us. Okay, so now to come out of the posture, engage your core muscles, bend your knees. So you place your feet to the floor, roll gently to your side. If you'd like, you can stay on your side resting for a few moments here, just taking it easy. Eventually, when you're ready, you can press yourself back up to a seated position. So, our skeletal architectures, past injuries, areas of our body that we would like to exercise or not like to exercise can all contribute to how we choose to use props in a posture. And as we just explored here, we can see that the same prop can remove sensation in a pose or position that can also create sensation in a different pose or position. So it's really helpful to empower our students the props, permission, and knowledge to honor their body's individual needs, to help them to make the most of their practice, and also to stay safe and responsive to their experience. Because remember, our poses aren't a destination, right? They're vehicles to help us to nurture our physical bodies and also to help us to open and free our energy, mind, and heart, and to bring kindness there. If you'd like to learn more, I'd love to have you join me for a Yin Yoga meditation training. And also, you might check out my book, Yin Yoga Meditation, on Amazon. Thanks so much, and see you next time.